Is it third time the charm for Nick Daicos and his Brownlow chances? Let's look into it. So the Brownlow is tonight, and after this video, that pretty much is the end of our 2025 season. I know we got the Copeland stuff, but we're going to start hitting trades, drafts, players leaving. There's going to be exit interviews sometime this week as well. So the news is going to keep rolling in just because the 2025 season has abruptly come to an end a week earlier than we would like it to. It doesn't mean that the content is going to stop. So make sure you're subscribed, turn on that notification bell, share it around with your friends because it's only going to get a little bit crazier from here. I've got a bit of an announcement later on in the video, so make sure you stick to the end for that. But let's get into the Brownlow for 2025 and talk about Nick's chances and who could maybe pipe him right at the end. So this year's count is actually really exciting. I feel like it's the passing of the baton. It's going to be a new generation of superstars, a new generation of, we know it shouldn't be, but it's a new generation of midfielders. It's Nick, Sarong, Anderson, Rowell, Dawson, even though he's a little bit older than those guys, Nazai Wangini Milera. There's going to be just a bunch of new players taking over the mantles of like a Dangerfield and a Cripps and a Lockie Neal and these sort of older players, because this year has been absolutely, it's probably been one of the best seasons of footy that I can remember. You know, getting rid of the Collingwood thing and how we lost that prelim and stuff like that. But I think there's just so much to like from this new batch of superstars that are coming through, and surely there is going to be a first-time Brownlow Medal winner. Now, as a Collingwood supporter, the standout story is Nick Daicos and what he's been through the last 2 years in the Brownlow. So 2023, in his second year, he gets that knee injury and he comes third in the Brownlow, so he just misses out. Last year was the most insane one, right? So he gained 38 votes, which would have won him every single Brownlow in history. But Patrick Cripps polled over 40 votes and he won the Brownlow, and Nick finished second. So it goes from third to second and hopefully first in 2025. So in this video, we'll break down Nick's chances and who I think will be featured up the top, and my thoughts on if Nick will win, because it's going to be such a close race. Now, Nick Daicos enters the 2025 Brownlow as the odds-on favourite. I'm not a betting man, but if you look at all the markets, Nick Daicos is just favourite. Even if you look at all the predictions, which we will get through a little bit later, Nick is pretty much the favourite in all of them. This year will be his best shot for his first Brownlow. And look, he's only so young still that he's probably got, you know, another 13, like what's he, 22, Pendlebury's 37. You know, Nick's probably got 15 years left in the game, and there's going to be 15 more chances to win a Brownlow. He could finish the highest ever Brownlow medalist in the game that has ever been seen. You know, he could finish with 3. I know that. I reckon he'll be finished with 2 by the end of his career. He is just that good, and this year could start that run. Now, Daicos' 2025 season, much like Collingwood's, was pretty good to start off with, right? He did everything right. He won the AFL Players Association's Lee Matthew Trophy, which is the players' voted MVP award. So he was voted by every single one of the players across the league. So that's 800 or so players as the standout player in the game. So that's really, really saying something. We know that those individual awards don't really mean anything when the umpires are the ones that are making these calls. And we know that the umpires don't get statistics or anything like that. They're really just going off muscle memory. If they think, you know, Nick's been good, or, you know, we've seen in a couple of years where Nick has played really good and he only gets 1 vote or only gets 2 votes. Or Patrick Cripps, for example, has an okay game but gets 3 votes when he probably should have got 1 or 2. So it's really how the umpires are feeling that day. So there were a bunch of standout Nick Daicos performances. There was multiple 35-plus disposals. The round 20 game against Richmond, like, look at this stat line. 42 disposals, 14 score involvements, 900 metres gained, 8 inside 50s, 3 goals, 1 goal assist. That's a 3-voter there. Round 17 against Carlton, 36 disposals, 7 clearances, 1 goal assist, 600 meters gained. He's got at least, I think, about 6 or 7 3-vote games. That's if the umpires agree with Collingwood supporters. I think one of the biggest things for Nick this year is that there's not a lot of Collingwood players that can pipe in for some votes. I know Steele Sidebottom started off really well at the start of the year, so Steele probably gets a 3 when and Nick gets a 2. There's a couple of games where Josh Daicos did a lot better than Nick, but ultimately, even Jamie Elliott could forwards start getting votes. Could we see Jamie Elliott get a couple of 3 voters from his just hauls when he's just kicking bags and bags of goals, even though Nick has been good. So there are a couple of players, but ultimately I don't think there's a lot of players, because if you look at Gold Coast, for example, and Matt Rowell and Noah Anderson will definitely be up there at the end of the count, they're probably stealing votes off of each other as well. So we don't really have that 1-2 midfield combo that could steal votes off each other. And that's why I think Nick Daicos, is better suited to get those 3 voters when it is a little bit on a knife's edge. And I also think this is just maybe a conspiracy theory or just a theory. It's just in general that the umpires would have seen last year, and I reckon they're going to correct themselves. We might see a game where Nick should have got 1 vote, but he ends up getting 2, or Nick probably should have gotten 2, but he ends up getting 3. I just feel like there's going to be a bit of a correction from what happened last year when Cripps got votes when he shouldn't have. And Lachie Neale in 2023, he got votes when he probably shouldn't have either. So I just think there's going to be a bit of an overcorrection. So be on the watch out for that. But all the signs do point to an absolute monster count by Nick Daicos. I don't think it's going to be the 38 votes that he got last year. I do think it'll be between 30 and 34 votes. So a really, really good voting count. I think 32 votes will win it this year. But let's talk about now who can stop Nick from winning his first Brownlow. So there are a couple of huge names. The first one that comes to my mind is Jordan Dawson, the captain of the Crows. He led them to top of the table from 15th place last year. Had done everything right. He's not one of those guys that's going to get 40 disposals or 35 or anything like this week in, week out. But he is an absolute trooper in that Crows midfield, and one of the main reasons why they were where they were. What I like about Dawson is that, yes, he started off the season really well, but the way he uses the ball, he might not be, like I said, a high disposal getter, but he uses the ball so efficiently, and are the umpires going to favor that as opposed to someone who gets 40 disposals and doesn't use the ball as efficiently? Or are they seeing who gets the ball more? You don't really know what's going on in these umpires' heads. Clearly, from the Collingwood prelim and all those free kicks that were missed. And no, I'm not going to let that go. And I think the same with sort of Nick. Jordan Dawson doesn't really have a lot of competition in the Adelaide lineup that could take votes away from him. And because Adelaide kept winning and kept winning and kept winning, he's likely to feature right up the top in the Brownlow count. So another 2 guys that I just mentioned was Matt Rowell and Noah Anderson. Now, these guys, partners in crime, right? If there's one, there's the other. If one doesn't get you, the other will, and vice versa. Sometimes they'll both get you at the same time. I think that they're still going to tally really, really high. But again, these guys will steal votes off each other. But at the end of the day, they'll probably be getting 3 votes here, 2 votes here, 2 votes here, 3 votes here. So it's not going to be a lot. It'll be 1 vote either way if they're going to steal votes. So I think they're gonna be really, really high in this count as well. Like look at some of this stuff, right? With Noah Anderson, he had a 39 disposal game, 2 goal performance in round 15, a bunch of 35 disposals, and Gold Coast, they're on everyone's mind at the moment because they're winning. They played their first final series. Matt Rowell, we know what Matt Rowell can do. That game against us in round 18, he had 32 disposals, 13 tackles, so that's probably a 2 or something voter from there. That's the game where Josh Daicos had a really good midfield time in that last quarter. One of the best quarters in the history of Champion Data and Supercoach and stuff like that. He could get a 1 or 2 voter. But you would think that they will probably, what word should I use? Cannibalize each other's votes a little bit. So that would be a watch out for there. If there is a top 3 finish, I probably have Anderson just a little bit higher than I do Matt Rowell right at the end. Now, the last guy that I've got my eye on is Bailey Smith. So he had an incredible first season for the Cats. Doesn't use the ball as efficiently as some of the other guys that I just mentioned, but he's always there, always at the forefront. Probably, you know, Dangerfield, Max Holmes, Jeremy Cameron could steal votes off him though. So that's another thing to look out for. Probably more so than Rowell and Anderson. So I'd be watching out for that. There was a period where Bailey Smith did miss a couple of games with an injury and stuff like that. So that probably doesn't help him. But I do think that he's got a handful of 3-vote games coming up. And I just really think that this is going to go down to the final 2 or so rounds. Because all of these guys that I mentioned deserve a Brownlow. Yes, I want Nick to win, but any of these guys would be really deserving winners of the Brownlow. Now, could there be some dark horses? At the start, I mentioned Caleb Sarong. Tom Green had a good year. Naziah Wanganeen Malera had a good year as well. But he had a good second half of the year as opposed to a first half of the year. Probably does have a few good games where he votes, where he polls really well. Same with Sarong. But if it's not those guys in the first 5, I just can't see it not being one of them. I don't think it's going to be a dark horse sort of year. It will be one of those 5 that I just mentioned. I really do believe that. And oh yeah, all the bookies sort of believe that as well. So let's talk about the bookies and the expert predictions. Now, like I said, I'm not a betting man, but look at these. Look at these betting odds. So Nick Daicos is around a $2.50 favorite to win, which is very short prices. Bailey Smith is about $4.50 to $5 to win as well. So he's second favorite. Jordan Dawson is third at $6 to $7. Matt Rowell is about $13, and Noah Anderson is about $6 to $7 as well. We've seen Nick be favorite for the Brownlow last year, and we know what happened. So don't take too much, emphasis on these bets, because it's just really people who think Nick is going to win. It's not any expert predictions or anything like that. It's people putting money on Nick to win, and that's why he's $2.50. So it's people like us, putting money on it. So I wouldn't look into it too much. But in saying that, a lot of people think that Nick will win his first maiden Brownlow. What I like to look at is simulation and prediction models. So my favorite one, and that I've used all throughout the year, is Wheelo Ratings. So Wheelo has run 20,000 simulations of the season and is forecasting Nick to win with around 35 votes. The next best is Noah Anderson with around 29 votes. That would be absolutely huge. 35 votes plus his 38. I think I read somewhere that Nick is averaging about 1.5 votes a game, which is absolutely incredible. If you look at ESPN, which has picked 8 of the last 11 winners, they've got Nick Daicos on top, but they've got a 3-way tie. Nick, Bailey Smith, and Noah Anderson at 29 votes each. Can you imagine a 3-way tie for the Brownlow? It's Rashudo, Goods, and Buckley all over again. I would love that one. I think, was that the last time we had a tie? Even a 2-man tie would be absolutely huge as well. I would not say no to a tie. I think that would be great for the game and great for these young people. Like, imagine you win your maiden Brownlow. Well, there's, 2 maiden Brownlow winners. I think that would be huge for the game and huge for these next generation of superstars. Now, it's a little bit different with Champion Data and on the AFL website. They've got Jordan Dawson polling 32 votes and Nick Daicos on 31, Bailey Smith on around 31, and Noah Anderson on 30. Now, Champion Data's algorithm is very, how's it going? I really don't know what they use to sort of calculate all their stuff. They had Nick as the second highest rated player in the both prelim games. I thought he didn't play that well in the prelim, especially in that second half, especially in that last quarter. I think he had 3 disposals or something. So I don't know how they do it. So I'm not putting my trust into the AFL's Champion Data predictor. I really do like the Wheelo Ratings one a lot more, mainly because, they've got Nick winning on 35 votes. So, will 2025 be the year of Nick and something that we can look back and smile about? Do you think he'll win the Copeland as well? Could it be a Copeland Brownlow double this year? His career is just starting. He's not even at his prime. he'll be hurting from that prelim loss and his efforts as well, and he will drag us to another flag. I really do believe that. If it's not Nick, who do you think it's going to be? Do you think there will be a dark horse? Now, I did mention at the start of the video that there was going to be a bit of an announcement at the end of the video. I will be doing a separate video for this in October when I sort of sit back and do that. But what it's pretty much going to be is there will be a change of how I do memberships. It's not going to be YouTube memberships or Instagram memberships anymore. It's going to be a whole different model. There's going to be price packs. There's going to be membership packs as well. It's going to be more about supporting the channel than getting extra videos or anything like that. I've just got to figure out how I'm going to do that all. So be on the lookout for that video. But is Nick going to get votes stolen from him from other Collingwood players? Let me know all your thoughts down below. It is going to be a hectic Brownlow medal count. I cannot wait. I'll see you there. In the meantime, like, comment, subscribe, tell your family, tell your friends, tell your pets. And until next time, double shackers, I'll swoop you later.